Take me to work. All right, today is Tuesday. So I just got over probably the worst flu that I've had since 2020. March of 2020, we were going on a vacation, kind of a company trip, and we were flying out. A limo was coming to pick us up early in the morning, like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, to take us to the airport. And the night before, I just started feeling sick, and man, I just got a fever. I was nauseous, and I thought I was gonna try to make it, and I'm glad I didn't try, because we ended up kind of canceling our flight, not canceling, but postponing the flight. And I was in bed for 2 days with a fever, sweats, nauseousness. Oh, it was horrible. And the thing is I don't throw up. I just have this thing where I just hate throwing up. So I'll fight through nausea instead of getting up and like forcing myself to throw up. And I went probably for a whole day in bed, fighting nausea, in and out of sleep consciousness, so to speak. And finally I just went and I threw up, and it was almost like this, such a relief, I remember. And when I got done, I recovered, and then the people we were going on the trip with ended up going on the trip, and we showed up later. We got to spend a couple days with them, and then my wife and I got to spend 3 days or 2 days by ourselves on the resort, which was nice. So it kind of all worked out, but it was kind of weird because it was right before the whole COVID thing hit. And what it did to me was it caused me to think, because I've always had a great constitution, like a steel, immunity, and just getting that sick was just like a slap in the face. And then what happened was the whole COVID thing came, and it added to my fear of, oh my God, if I get this thing, what's going to happen to me? So that was 2020. And now flash forward to this weekend, Friday, I started feeling sick. We went to pick my son up at his job at the pizza restaurant, and I just couldn't eat, and I just wasn't feeling right, and I knew something was coming on. So I'm like, let's just go home. So we went home. I crawled into bed Friday night, and I didn't get out of bed until Sunday morning. I mean, I was in bed all day. But I knew where I got it, because my wife had it 3 days prior, and for a whole night she was just moaning and saying my stomach and this and that, which she never does. So I knew it was bad. And so when it hit me, it's like a ton of bricks, man. And then so Sunday I started feeling better, thought I was recovering, and then yesterday it was like a relapse, and yesterday morning I was just nauseous again and not feeling good. By the end of the day though, I felt good. Today I have too much energy. It's crazy. So, but that being said, when you have situations like that, you do a lot of thinking, even in your messed up, half conscious, maybe because you are half conscious, you do better thinking. But just thinking about what I'm doing, my life, I don't know, a lot of things. But some more things is what I'm doing with these videos. My original idea was to do these videos and then just kind of keep them secret, and then maybe my kids would discover them years from now or whatever, and they could be like, that's our dad. Maybe people would run into him and listen to him, and maybe take some of the advice and lessons that I try to teach. Like, I'm speaking to the camera like I'm speaking to my kids and trying to teach them. So maybe later in life, maybe now they don't listen to me as much, which I don't think that's 100% true, but maybe some of the things they're not sinking in, and so later they can go back and say, I remember my dad saying that. Oh God, look at this. Oh, I remember that day. Sorry, I'm gonna get a little emotional here, but I'm saying I didn't know where this thing was going and what I wanted to do with it, and that's still the purpose. It's probably always gonna be the purpose. 3 things, basically. Counseling session for myself, kind of self-counseling, I guess, just to speak my mind and get things off my chest and bring them out into the universe. 2, send lessons to my children in the future. Give them, try to impart upon them what I've learned. I mean, a 26-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 7-year-old, an 18-year-old, a 22-year-old, 23-year-old. They think they know so much, and they don't know anything. And it's like, I'm 55, and I don't know anything. But I've lived through some things, and I've seen some things, and I've learned some things, which I think I said already, but whatever. That, if they listen and they take action, they're definitely going to be ahead in their lives. Like, I wish my dad was more like me. My dad was a guy who didn't communicate well. I mean, he was well-being, but he was, it's kind of like when they talk about boomers, and they say how they're self-centered and that's me generation and all that stuff. That's exactly how he was. Growing up, it was all about him. He would do what he wanted to do. If he didn't want to do it, he wouldn't do it. Everything was about him. Nothing, he never looked past himself, basically. When I was 26 years old, 25 years old, my dad was building houses. He was probably building 6 to 10 houses a year at that point. He would build spec houses, and then he would sell them, and he'd make $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $100,000 off the spec house. And it was a time when, in the 90s, that was a ton of money, And he had his business, and then he was making that chunks of money. And I was like, Dad, can you show me how to build a house so I can try to make money? Because at the time I was working for him, and I was making $28,000 a year, in construction, And so he's like, oh yeah, I'll do that. So we ended up finding some land. It was a package deal, so there was like 3 lots. He sold me one of the lots, and then the idea was he was going to teach me how to general contract a house, because I didn't know anything. I was just a stupid kid. And he kept doing things, and then like telling me he did it, but never involving me in the process. So I never really learned. And the thing is now that I'm older, I realize it's like, that's kind of an excuse, because if I want to learn how to do it, I'd go out there and do it. He grew up in a different era. Now we have the internet and YouTube and AI and all these sources of information. When he started general contracting houses, he had to find somebody who was doing it and basically learn from them. And that was the same. This was 1995 when he built that house, and it was the same thing. There was no internet or information. You learned from somebody, and that was the most frustrating thing, because I probably wasn't the best student, because I wasn't on top of him about everything. But he was definitely not the best teacher either, who would say, okay, who would guide you along and say, okay, we're going to go do this. This is how you do this. This is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. Nothing like that. He basically built the damn house. And then I ended up getting a mortgage, paying him back for building the house and in the lot. And then there I was. I had a house, 25 years old, you know, making $28,000 a year. I remember my mortgage payment was $820. And I think that included, you know, everything, taxes, insurance, which doesn't seem like a lot, but then, you know, I had a car payment, bills, I had a lifestyle. I mean, back then, you know, the bar scene was where everybody went. So I also discovered, like, in college, well, I got my first credit card in college, which is crazy that they do that, but, you know, I had multiple credit cards, and I would go out and just slap it on the card, run up the credit card bills. And I lived in the house for 2 years, and I just got to the point where, like, I wasn't able to afford it because my credit card bills were so crazy. So it was my first lifeline. Real estate's always been there for me as a lifeline. And so that first time I sold some real estate, I paid off all those credit cards and I was zero debt. And I'm a slow learner, I'll be honest with you, because that was something that you would have thought a lesson like that, because it was like $20-something thousand in credit card debt. But so I paid him off, blah blah blah. I walked away with a little bit of money, whatever it was, and then I ended up buying a condo that I kind of fixed up. That was a nightmare, living with HOA. So I ended up selling that really quick. Made a little bit of money off of that. I think I paid more credit card debt off because I lived there for, you know, 6 months or something. And I was partying, whatever. But so anyways, after the condo, I kind of learned a little more about managing the debt and stuff like that. And it, you know, I've gone through life cycles of making a little money and losing a lot of money, making a lot of money, losing money. So life ebbs and flows. You know, you're not always on top. You're not always on the bottom. One lesson somebody told me a long time ago: it's never as bad as you think, and it's never as good as you think. And that's how you gotta live your life, because that's the truth. You know, you think it's never gonna end. It's just always success, always up and the right, always, you know, money flowing in, and that's not how it is. And then you think, oh, this is never gonna end. This losing and, you know, whatever failures you're having, it's never as bad as you think, and it's never gonna last forever. So that's a little life lesson. But, you know, trying to teach your kids these things, and like my 26-year-old, he's making a little bit of money now. He's actually doing really well in sales for us, and, you know, he's got his own apartment. You know, the company pays for his truck and stuff, so he doesn't have a car payment. He just sold his car, so he's got a little bit of extra money there. And he's talking about buying a motorcycle. And I'm thinking, man, you're 26 years old. You've never ridden motorcycles. You don't have a motorcycle license. He's looking at this, like, crotch rocket type motorcycle. It's like not a little beginner one. It's like a, you know, pretty big, powerful one. One of the faster ones. And I'm just like... And the thing is, where we live, people do not look for motorcycles. I mean, it's not necessarily the motorcycle driver, although there are situations where the motorcycle driver does the wrong thing, obviously. But it's usually the car that pulls out and hits them, you know, or doesn't see them and, you know, hits them from behind because the motorcycle stops faster than the car. So as a dad, I'm worried, oh my God, you know, what can happen to this kid? So half of me is like, he's got to live his life. He's got to learn for himself. You know, I don't want to hold him back. But the other thing is like, so I kind of throw in these words of wisdom and say, well, you know, you could get a motorcycle now, or you could take that money and build up an account and save some money, and we could do something. Invest in some real estate, do some deals. So we'll see what he ends up doing. I honestly hope he doesn't buy the motorcycle, to be honest with you, because it worries me as a dad. But anyway, so back to the channel. So the channel is just my therapy. It's just to hopefully one day impart wisdom upon my children and maybe some other people. But I think what I'm going to do, because, you know, YouTube is this thing, if you really look into it, it really wants you to niche down, and it wants you to basically create, you know, content in a certain box, and then it knows how to serve the content up to its audience through logarithms and AI and all the other stuff. My whole thing is, I don't like to just focus on one thing. I'm not going to sit here and do AI videos every day. I like to talk about a bunch of different stuff. So I think going forward, the niche that I'm going to go with is just, you know, the life of somebody my age in America, and what I'm experiencing, what I'm doing, and the successes I'm having, the failures, the life lessons. Because the truth is we are living in some extraordinary times. Just amazing. The way technology is changing so fast, and the way things are evolving with AI and just all different things. AI probably is the biggest thing because that's just changing the world. But having children, politics, the world, just all the different things. So basically this channel will be a journal of my life, of what I'm going through. So maybe a testament or a kind of autobiography, so to speak, of me telling stories of what I'm going through. And there'll be lessons that people can gather. There'll be things that people can use in their own lives. There can be things that people can relate to. There'll be things that, you know, hopefully we'll laugh, we'll cry, we'll live together. I don't know. But, and if no one watches it, no one watches it. If it becomes super popular, even better. Hopefully people get value out of it and learn and grow. And who knows, maybe everybody will start doing this type of personal journal. Because, you know, I have a 20-minute drive to work every day. I've got a Tesla Cybertruck that drives me. I can sit here and talk for 20 minutes about anything, basically, you know. And so that's what I'm going to be doing going forward, you know. Not like 100% serious, like I'm going to be making, you know, thumbnails and all that stuff. And editing and putting in graphics and all that. I'm like, unless I can get AI to do that, I won't be doing that. But who knows? I am getting better at it, so who knows? We might actually get to that point. But I'm just saying, that's where I'm going with things. Glean out of this. Watch it if you want. Don't watch it. I hope if you do watch it, you get something out of it. But have a great day. Be blessed. Be thankful for every day that you're alive, because whatever illness that I had, it wanted to kill me. It really did. Every joint in my body was aching, under attack. Every muscle was sore. My skin was, was irritated. It was bad. Stomach pains. Whatever it was horrible. So you have to appreciate life, because, find things that are worth living for. Anyways, have a great day.